It was a Thursday night in Pasadena, the one in California, not the one just east of Houston. We were standing behind the two-way glass when one of the participants shocked us with her reaction. No, it wasn't how she threw down her invitation on the focus group table. That was startling but not shocking. Rather, it was what she said right after that which caught us completely off guard, and why this may apply to you and how you think. So what's this got to do with you as a founder, CEO, or executive level staff? And even more importantly, is how can you benefit from it just as we did? Simply put, we falsely assumed something that this fired up lady called us out on. Here's what happened and why this may matter to you. This lady's name was Ilene T. Someone in our viewing room said the T stood for trouble, but I think it more likely stood for transparency because that she was full on. Ilene and her 7 companions were invited to a study we were doing to learn about my clients' lapse donors. The data file indicated that Ilene's last donation was 16 months ago, or just before I began working as an outside consultant for them. In our discovery session, we were seeking their donors' thoughts and feelings about having given previously, but not again in some time. Though this example is about reactivating donors in a growing nonprofit, the same marketing and consumer behavior apply to a commercial operation. So back to the flattened invitation hitting the table with an engaged emotion. Without further encouragement, Ilene emphatically stated, "I'm not lapsed." The intensity in her eyes and level of her voice gave little doubt about her self-perceived status. Most definitely, she considered herself a current donor. That is, an active supporter of this charitable outreach to those in need. Yes, it was a shock hearing what she thought about not being a lapsed donor. But even more so, it was a shock realizing who we thought a lapsed donor was or wasn't. By arbitrary selection, this nonprofit organization had set a boundary on RFM, that is recency, frequency, and monetary, at inside 13 months since the last donation. Therefore, at 16 months of inactivity, Ilene and the other donors were considered lapsed by the charity. We all make assumptions. Some of us may think we don't, but odds are heavily in favor that we do. I'm assuming you agree with me, right? So, what does this mean to you, and how can you use it to raise more funds and help more of whom you are called to assist? One line of thought is to set your current lapse criteria not in the last 12 months of a moving window. Instead, use an either-or logic. This means a current donor will be someone who gave in either this year or last year. And the segmentation is set on the average gift made over that same selected time period. Then monitor which gift segments you pull to contact by direct mail or online. Your lower gift amounts are the ones you contact less often, and the higher gift segments are the ones you connect with more often. Just because a donor doesn't give in your arbitrarily set time doesn't mean they won't give in their arbitrarily set time. And sometimes theirs is longer than in the past 12 months. Some people say this is wasteful. Others will say not wasteful at all if the net revenue is greater than the net cost over that same time period. Not to mention the higher cost of acquiring a new donor versus keeping an existing, even if lapsed donor. As Perry Marshall's gumball machine analogy goes, how often would you put a quarter in a gumball machine if each time you get 2 quarters back? Or, for that matter, even 3 dimes back for every quarter you drop into the gumball slot. If you don't recall what a gumball machine is, this same concept also applies to a Vegas slot machine. For every 1 quarter you put in, you get lots of flashing lights and carnival noises plus 2 quarters. Personally, I would do this every day of the week plus twice on Sunday. One mistake many nonprofits make when lapping their lapse donors on a 12-month calendar is when they say no for them. They do this by not mailing or sending an email to allow their lapse donors to give. Based on my 30-plus years of raising hundreds of millions of dollars for nonprofits, I've seen many reasons for letting your donors say no for themselves, primarily because often they will say yes if you give them a chance. In closing, there is much more to share that we have learned about when to stop contacting lapsed donors and when not to stop contacting them. We'll cover a lot more of that in an upcoming issue of Castle Roads. Until then, you can rest assured that all roads lead to the same castle. It's just that some roads are less often traveled, but are still likely to be taken when given the opportunity to do so. Until the next issue of Castle Roads, travel well. E. Paul.